Well, joining us in studio to discuss this further is Golden Miles Budu, president of the South African Prisoners Organization for Human Rights, and the former Wits University SRC president, Mcebo Dlamini, joins us via the phone line. A very good evening to you both, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, let me start with you, Mr. Budu. I mean, there has been public outcry on social media as well regarding Duduzane Zuma appearing in court, being shackled. What are your thoughts on the matter?
Well, if it's true and if it's factual, and I do not have any reason why I must doubt that, is that we are told that he is the one that voluntarily suggested that he must be treated like any other person that has been accused of any sort of crime, and that he must not be given preferential or special treatment. And the shackling of suspected persons, it has become fashionable. There's nothing wrong about that as far as we are concerned. We used to make a noise about it some years ago. But it is just a formality, it is just procedural. And of course, they will tell you that it is part of the system, how it has been designed, that when you go to that particular court, you must be shackled. But as I said, I think it is true that he said, shackle me, do whatever you want with me, and I'll get my day someday so that I can explain to the court whether I'm guilty or not.
Well, let me hear from Mcebo. Mcebo, good evening to you. You were somebody who was imprisoned during the FISMA's fall protest time. Talk to us about this issue of shackling. Do you feel that it's somewhat dehumanizing? Is it just part of the protocols of appearing in specific courts?
Well, thank you for having us. Well, look, I failed to understand the logic behind the shackling of the young Zuma, mostly because he surrendered himself there. He drove himself to court. You see him walking inside the courtroom or the premises, and then with his lawyers, and in a few minutes you see him in chains. So it kind of, skipped me the logic there. So I failed to understand. But mostly the issue of the shackling, and most on people who are not violent criminals and people who are not a flight risk, it doesn't really make sense to me. And its purpose and the logic behind it, only probably to humiliate individuals or to reduce them psychologically. It does have an effect, mostly when you are not a hardcore criminal. It destroys one's mind.
And just coming back to studio, Mr. Budu, I mean, do you think we should be making a big deal out of it? As you mentioned yourself, according to reports, Duduzane did say he wanted to be treated as any other criminal, just to have justice take its course and no preferential treatment. Should we be making a big fuss about it?
Well, I'm very surprised why the fuss, and if it's true that he said that they must do as they are pleased, then he's on his way, well on his way towards redemption and rehabilitation. And it then tells me that he starts his long, drawn-out, cold and very bumpy road on the right foot or on the right route. And we would also advise him, and this advice comes, of course, free of charge. You don't have to pay us, that he must give full cooperation to the investigating officer. So much so that he might even go, we say he might even ask for a plea bargain, so that we all, and he, his family, his supporters and followers, get to this matter sooner rather than later, without him having to go the same route Oscar Pistorius did. Oscar Pistorius decided to take the other route, and that route ended up, his attorneys, his senior counsel see him as a cash cow, and they ended up milking him to an extent that he sits today in prison with a longer prison term. He's been impoverished, he's bankrupt, and he's poor, and his attorneys went to the bank smiling. And I hope this is what Zuma not going to do, if he knows from the heart of his heart that the charges that is brought against him are factual, can be proven beyond reason of the doubt, and he's the only one that would know that.
So you actually think that Duduzane Zuma has a stronger case than the state does against him?
No. I think if he knows that he has done wrong, he mustn't waste his time, his money, waste everybody's time. He must go to court one man alone and go and plead guilty if he is guilty. And then the court will then take into consideration during mitigation that this man was cooperative, this man has shown remorse, this man has even helped the state to get to the bottom of what is really happening in this deep, endless pit and this web, this spider web. He'll then he'll come off much lighter than a guy that will go in denial, spend millions of his hard-earned money, feed attorneys and senior counselors, and then end up in prison in any event, being poor.
Mcebo, do you think that the state has a strong case against Duduzane?
The state doesn't have a case against anyone. The problem with our judicial system is that it has been abused by politicians for a long time. You have incompetent people in the NPA and Hawks and IP and everywhere else who are there because of their political closeness to leadership so that they continue paging comrades. The state will fail to find this man guilty on anything. The NPA has already shown that the Hawks. So they are saying now they still need to investigate. They need until January. Those are indications of incompetency. They went, they pursued this man with emotions, trying to please white monopoly capital and trying to please I don't know whosoever, and then they rushed and they are going to make huge gross law errors. And then I mean the state have been pursuing us as his must fall activists. Till today they have failed to find us guilty. I think that Duduzane has no obligation to make things easy for the state. The state must find him guilty. He has no obligation to plead bargain and give himself a criminal record. Those who are alleging must prove. He must defend, go to court and defend, and the state must find him guilty. I mean, we can't be making work easy for criminals who are put there in the judicial system. So, I mean, the state doesn't have a case against anyone. As long as they continue playing politics instead of representing the masses of our people, but they pursue people for political agendas, they'll never find anyone guilty.
And do you think that there is a play of politics here behind the scenes? I mean, some people actually question whether there was an arrest warrant for him, and when he landed, why wasn't he, taken to jail immediately? Why was he allowed to attend his brother's funeral? There's so many questions around different aspects of his actually going to prison and eventually appearing before court. Do you think politics or some sort of privilege at play?
You're talking with a veteran ex-offender who is working with sentenced and unsentenced offenders on a daily basis, and also criminals, which we hate with a passion, because it is the criminals that is running amok outside here, and they are above the law, they are untouchable, and they do that with significant impunity. Okay, so you must differentiate between a prisoner and a criminal. The prisoners are there, you can account for them. They've got prison numbers, they've got surnames, they've got names, they've got cell numbers, and they've got sections. And we have separated the two categories. That is why we say we, in fact, are very passionate when it comes to prisoners, and we are very tough when it comes to these criminals who are running the country into the ground and get away with it. By the way, Duduzane Zuma has been charged with corruption, alternatively conspiracy to commit corruption, in relation to in a 2015 incident where we are told he and his cabal, the Guptas, attempted to bribe the former Deputy Minister of Finance, Comrade
Jonas.
Jonas. And Jonas has, in fact, keep on saying that it is true. They wanted to bribe him, and he has been charged for that. And Jonas will be a state witness. And of course, one doesn't have no reason why not to believe the minister when he said he was bribed, and they wanted him to give them the keys of the treasury so that they can go and loot everything that's inside today. And the other thing is, he's also been charged for culpable homicide. You must also remember that Monday will be going to court. There was a charge against him, and the state found that there is enough evidence, but the NPA decided to do otherwise, maybe because it is Duduzane Zuma. He must also be reminded that Phumzile Dube died on the spot of an accident that he caused. And Naketi Mashaba died in hospital after a few weeks. And these people didn't die because they are the dying type and they died because dying is fashionable. They died because Duduzane Zuma caused an accident that resulted into them dying. And that is also what he must go and prove in court, that he was not there that day. It was somebody else, that they mistaken him with that particular person. It is fine to talk and speak English all the time, but when you are there in the trenches and you deal with sentenced and unsentenced offenders, you deal with criminals, and you will hear them speaking every day, those who are inside there and want to show remorse and want to be rehabilitated and want to become a law-abiding citizen, but are not given the opportunity to come out responsible citizen. Then you come and hear somebody who is angry, who in fact talk double and think triple.
I just want to touch another issue here that's come to the fore. The fact that the Zuma family has expressed displeasure at how mainstream media actually paints narratives and reports on the family. Do you think that perhaps Duduzane might be subject to a trial by media before he actually gets to stand trial in the courts?
Well, Duduzane is from the president is a public figure, and his children, will be interrogated, in the public space. So he will be, prosecuted using the public opinion. It is normal. But we are not here to defend him, to say that he did it or he didn't do it. Mostly on the issue of the culpable homicide, or on the car issue, whether it's culpable homicide or murder. The courts will have to prove that. But now it takes us back to the issue that I was saying, that the judicial system has been corrupted for a long time. Now, why was the case dropped? Why was the case not pursued? Why is it coming back now? There's too much politics in this thing that at the end makes our justice system a joke. And then it then says to me, only those who are poor and have no money will go to prison. Those with money always buy their way out. So those are the genuine concerns that we must be talking about. I mean, not just about Duduzane, but about the masses of our people who are languishing in jail for petty crimes, and then because they don't have money. Now you have people who have sucked the economy dry, like Stenhoff. I haven't heard any corruption charges against Stenhoff and KPMG. But you are pursuing a black person just because he is black. Now, we are going to have issues if we are going to do these things. But we feel sorry for the children of politicians, because they are always victims of a lot of public criticism and stuff like that. But I think they are used to it. It comes with being a child of those people.
Well, let me just come back to studio then. He mentioned something, the element of white privilege. If we look at some of the previous criminal cases where somebody has been accused of murder, of rape and other more serious offences, they appeared in court unshackled, whereas Duduzane appeared shackled. Is this a case of, is race at play in this at all?
Of course, white privilege remains very powerful in this country. We have allowed it for the past 24 years in a democracy. And we must not point the finger to the white man. We must point the finger back to us, because we, the people who were pulling at the end of it all, have to endure the yoke of apartheid, has allowed this in the 24 years that we are in what office or in power. We must go back home, go back to the drawing board, and do some retrospective research, and then come back and govern the country, because we have been given a mandate to do that. Now, until such time we do what the mandate says, and that is to repair the damage that was inherited from an apartheid past, we cannot blame the white man, because we have left the white man to do as he or she is pleased. And it is not, that's not the mandate. We must not be cowards. We must not be betrayed, the revolution of the freedom of this country. Mm-hmm. We must tell the white man in no uncertain terms that, listen here, now you are going to sit down and shut up and listen, take notes, and then thereafter come back and respond to the notes that you have taken, because we have spoken. That has not happened. So we cannot go and blame the white man for our incompetence, negligence, our gullibility, and our stupidity. We mustn't do that.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Budu and Mr. Dlamini. We'll leave it there for now. That was the discussion on Duduzane Zuma being